Let me show you how the top 1% of local Puerto Ricans invest their money in real estate on the island of Puerto Rico. Look, I've done over 200 deals on the island of Puerto Rico, but I'm still a small fish compared to the big guys. In this video, I'm going to show you how the top 1% invest their money and how you can do the same and copy them even if you're broke. The top 1% of real estate investors anywhere, but especially on the island of Puerto Rico, they don't just buy real estate. They target very specific areas. Let me give you an example. Dorado Beach East. We're talking about where the multimillionaires and billionaires, where they play. The Ritz-Carlton Reserve. We got mega mansions and the ultra-wealthy playground. Palmas del Mar, which is a wannabe Dorado. It's not quite as big or as bad as Dorado Beach East. So you have some multimillionaires there who can't afford to be in Dorado Beach East. And then you've got the entire island of Puerto Rico is basically an opportunity zone. 96% of it anyways is an opportunity zone, and big investors like to put their money where they can get it out tax-free at the end of a decade. Why should you consider investing in Puerto Rico? Well, we've got a few reasons. We came to this island because we thought our money would go further. We thought that the returns would be bigger, and we thought that there was lots and lots of upside. That was about 8 years ago, and I would say the exact same thing is still true to this day. Only we're in a better economy for the island of Puerto Rico. There's less supply, so that means that when you can find something that needs a whole bunch of value add, you're going to have even more upside, so your money still goes a lot further, you still get very high returns, and you still have massive upside. Now, you're probably thinking, because of my examples, things like, oh, I can't afford to buy houses in Dorado Beach East, or I can't even afford to buy houses in Condado or Palmas del Mar. And here's the really good news. You don't need to be in those places. In fact, we've never invested in those places. I've not spent $1 in Dorado Beach East. I thought it was overpriced when I came here 8 years ago, and I really think it's overpriced now. I chose not to invest in Condado. That may have been a mistake because we could have gotten in a lot cheaper and seemed to have 5x'd over the last 7 or 8 years. But we've chosen to invest at the heels of the big boys. So in this video, we're showing you what the top 1% do, where they invest and how they invest. And then we like to buy the smaller projects and nip at their heels. We want to do the deals that the Polsons won't bother with. So we'll buy that small multifamily house and turn it into a small guest house, or we'll buy a small 50-unit apartment complex and fix it up for long-term rentals and collect tax-free rents for the next 15 years, while the Polsons want to do the oceanfront stuff in Condado and build big 5-star luxury resorts. So the idea here is we want to see where the big money is going. We want to see that the Rubin brothers are going to invest $2 million in Cabo Rojo. And we want to go and look at where they're going to spend that money, and we want to start buying up smaller projects around those areas. We want to look at places like Ceiba, Puerto Rico, where there's going to be probably $1 billion spent in Roosevelt roads. And we want to buy up some rental properties around that area, knowing that there's going to be lots of jobs, knowing that there's going to be lots of tourism. So these are going to be indicators that all ships rise in a rising tide. And when the big players come in and they spend massive amounts of monies in the different parts of the island. Ponce could be another one where we're seeing the cruise ships come in. You want to go in and buy the small projects that the big guys aren't going to buy. And you want to do basically the same thing that they're going to do. Let them do all the work. So they've already decided that they can invest a couple $1 billion in Cabo Rojo, and that if they build it, they will come. And they're going to create a Dorado Beach East, if you will, in Cabo Rojo. So you could buy up a slew of rental properties, knowing that the people are going to want to move there for the higher paying jobs, and that the ultra wealthy are going to move there because the Rubin brothers have built paradise for them. Here's how the top 1% check out a deal before they drop millions, and how you can do the same thing on a smaller scale. Step 1, track institutional movements. You're going to want to watch for press releases and news reports, things that are indicating where the big money is about to be invested. Number 2, you know the big boys are going to be checking out the fundamentals. They're going to be looking at growth patterns. They're going to be looking at how the infrastructure is. They're going to be deciding whether or not the local municipality is a worthwhile investment or not. Step 3, legal checks. And this is just common sense investment 101. But the legal search means that once you've got something under contract, you're going to want to give it to a local notary who's going to do a title search for you. Make sure that you're buying something that's free and clear, has good and marketable title, doesn't owe a ton of back taxes that are going to be left to you to cover. Just be careful of that. The big boys never let that catch them, and you don't want to be caught up in that either. A lot of small investors will tend to skip this step. Maybe they do a handshake deal and they get themselves into a project that they didn't check all of title work, they didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Guys, the top 1%, they never skip this step. They don't get themselves into bad deals because they do the work ahead of time, and you need to do that as well as a small investor. So let's talk about how the 1% actually close the deals. The top 1% of the investors on the island of Puerto Rico are the best connected people on the island. Let's face it, guys, this island is Relationship Island, and they are going to come into an area. They're going to know everybody. They're going to do things that probably you're not able to do. But let's call it this. They're going to network like crazy. They're going to go and meet the mayors. They're going to go and meet the decision makers for the whole entire region and the municipalities. And they're going to make sure that they vet the area, that they like the infrastructure that's being built, that they agree with the way and the direction that a particular town is going. Now, you're not necessarily, as a guy who's going to buy a duplex somewhere, going to be able to do that kind of networking. But you can still network with the local people in the area. You can still talk to other business owners. You can still talk to people who are living in the neighborhood where you're looking to invest your money. And you can network. This will help you to find profitable partnerships and to stay safe when you're investing in new areas. One of the top 1% investors is about to drop millions of dollars. It's a very good indication that they've done the vetting for you and that they've already networked with all of the really powerful decision makers. But you can go to the townspeople, you can go to the locals who can tell you what the real scoop is, the word on the street. So now let's talk again about real estate investing 101 and making smart offers. The rich, the top 1%, they don't make offers where they're overpaying. They don't always pay asking price. They often structure great terms where they'll get incredibly long inspection periods and due diligence periods. Let's talk about my favorite thing, the value add piece of it. And here's where small investors can win time and again. We call it finding the highest and best use. So you can look at properties that you can buy at a low valuation because their use case that they've always had is no longer functional, or you've figured out a much higher and better use. One of the things that we've liked to do on the island of Puerto Rico is to buy distressed office, whether that's a single family distressed office or condominium distressed offices in places where we can turn them into housing. The upgrade from distressed office, which is way down here, to semi-luxury or luxury or even working class houses, the lift between the two, it's incredible. So that's what you look for as a value add real estate investor. Some of the things that we've seen, entertainment is always a very good highest and best use for something that was maybe a warehouse and now you can turn it into an entertainment complex. Or we just talked about office to housing is a good one. Or distressed slumlord housing that somebody has abandoned and left sitting distressed and decayed and turning it into a small guest house. That's an incredible lift, and there's a lot of value that's added, and it doesn't take that much more to renovate it back to be a 4-family home or to renovate it to be a 7-unit guest house and put it through Act 60 and get 40% tax credits. So all of these ideas where you can figure out what the highest and best use is, buy something on the low valuation, and then recreate it up to the highest and best use, we call that forcing the equity through value add real estate investing. And that's what the big guys do. That's what the top 1% do. It's what you can do too. After all, the rich, they don't just buy and hold, they buy and improve. That's how they make the big bucks. So let's recap. Follow where the 1% is buying. Look at what the demand is. What are the tax benefits for being in the area? What kind of projects should you be investing in? Make sure you bulletproof your deals by having them checked out thoroughly with title searches and other legal structure. Close on smart deals. Buy at the low valuation. Add value by renovating them up to the reimagined highest and best use. All right, you don't need millions to follow the top 1%. You need focus, knowledge, and execution. And if you're serious about building wealth through real estate investing on the island of Puerto Rico, you've got to subscribe to our channel.